Hey guys, so this is Joe Rowan without a scrap of makeup on. You're welcome, world. Horror time for just in time for Halloween. This video is about self-worth versus self-doubt because this is something that has been really prevalent to me. Probably my whole life I've had issues with self-worth and self-confidence and letting other people make me feel like my worth was less than it was, or make me feel useless, and I think this is something that everybody goes through. Like they doubt themselves. It's big when you're in school. It's a big thing because you're growing up and your hormones are going crazy, and everybody wants to fit in with their group at school and have friends, and a lot of stuff goes on and not much changes, to be honest. I thought I would get out of school and it would all be different, and university was no different. Places where I've worked have been no different. So, but this has been a real lesson for me recently, and well, not even just recently, just my life. And the Morrigan told me, you have to listen to yourself, and other people, really wonderful people, have said, you're doubting yourself, stop it. If you know that something is right for you, then it's right for you. And so part of me thinks it's this time of year. There's a lot of it going on from Mabon to just before Samhain, which is like the shedding of the old, just making way for the new, and getting into the path ready for the new year where you want to be, where you feel comfortable. The onset of the dark side of the year sometimes does this to us as well. Like, we doubt things, we doubt ourselves, we question a bit more. And I made this video the other day about questioning everything, and it turns out that I was being prophetic because I had to question everything about myself that I was telling myself and figure it out. And Morrigan said to me, the message that came to me was, don't let anybody else make you feel like you're worth less than you are. And it's true of society in general. Like, we think we're nothing without being in a relationship, or without a lot of friends, or and sometimes we forget that the thing that actually matters is the quality and not the quantity. I've had this in so many different ways throughout my life. Relationships where the other person wasn't treating me right and I should have left way before I did, and you have to rediscover and reawaken your inner fury about being treated badly by the person that's supposed to love you and doesn't. This is not my current relationship, obviously. My current relationship is a happy one. Bless my little gnome. He's the best man ever. I'm going to marry him, so that's all there is to say about that. For the right reasons. But I'll talk about that because that past relationship, I've had more than one bad past relationship, and I don't know, I'd probably say the worst one I had was the relationship before my gnome. I went and moved up north to be with this person who turned out to be a perpetual liar about everything. I'd been under the impression he was in training to be a firefighter, and he had all this information, and he just lied, flat out lied. He'd been to like a 2-day course, and he had asthma, so I don't think they would have ever let him in, and the guy was just scum. And I couldn't go home, and I felt trapped there, and I stayed, and I shouldn't have, and I found out he tried to get his ex back while I was there, and at that point I packed my bags and was ready to leave, and at that point he begged me to stay and said it was a mistake, and because I had nowhere to go, I had no family to go back to, I had friends I could stay with for brief periods of time, but nothing long term. I let him talk me into it. I let him talk me into staying, and it was the worst mistake I ever made. The guy was scum. He lied. He stole money from me. He stole stuff from me. If I gave him money to buy the food to make dinner with, because I worked at that point and he did not, and he would not even go get benefit. He wouldn't spend the money on food. He'd go out and buy himself cigarettes, which is something else he lied about. He lied about not smoking. He was nasty. He was emotionally blackmailing. He was a real anger management issue. He was, I found out later that he had a domestic violence tag against his name because he beat up his ex-girlfriend. And the minute he turned hands to me, and he turned violent against me, is the minute I went home. I didn't stay very long with my mother because she's no better, but it put me in I got out. And until that moment, and even at that moment, I knew I didn't feel strong enough to get myself out. And I went to my middle sister, who happened to be back in England by then. And I told her because I knew she would help me. It makes the story worse that at one point my mother's partner said leave her there, and my mother was almost on the verge of leaving me there, and my sister threw an ape shit basically and said, if and in the end they came and got me because she went nuts. I had let myself confidence and self-belief and my power go to the point where I was in a domestically violent relationship again. I'd had one other one when I was very young. I was 13, 14, and it devolved over time. It was a long-term relationship, and by the time he started being aggressive, it wasn't as much beating up at that point, though. I mean, the more recent one was much more of a serious thing. He was threatening and violent, and he headbutted me, which is when I left. But there were so many other things as well. He was dirty. He didn't clean himself properly. I didn't realise how bad it was. He made me feel. I put on a lot of weight. I was so miserable. I comfort ate. And he preyed on people. He preyed on a certain type of person, a person that's been through an awful lot of trauma in their life. So he preyed on people on purpose because his ex was very much like me. Anyway, I let all my self-power go. I let it go. Sorry, world, about the whole no makeup thing, but meh. We're being strong about who we are naturally. And in the end I got out and felt 1000% better for having left. I never saw him again. He rang me up and begged me to go back and begged me to go back and said there were all these bills that needed paying and he couldn't do it, and I was going to have my final student loan, which I then told him they've cancelled it because I've left. And then he was like, oh right, whatever. So he lied and lied and lied and lied because he wanted my money. I was a purse to him, and he just took my money, stole my money, stole my stuff, sold off my stuff. The guy was an arsehole. Worst kind of man you can ever be with. And I am thankful to my lucky stars that the next man I found, the gnome, is the best man I've ever known. I love him dearly, and he loves me. And it's about being in a relationship which is a balance, which is really, really important. It can't be balanced all the time. There's give and take on both sides, but self-worth is back in the game plan, if you like. It back in my life. But then recently I've been doubting myself in this way and that way, and allowed other people to make me feel like I wasn't worth anything, and it's happened my whole life. My mother did it to me. And I don't know what it is. It's just a lesson that I have to keep pounding into my head, that I'm not useless, I'm not powerless, and I'm not stupid. I hate being lied to. And I tend to think the best in people to start with, and half the time, unfortunately, I'm disappointed. I keep putting faith in the wrong people, maybe, like I did with that boyfriend. Men is a problem for every woman who is straight. Or what else is there to say about that? How it's a very difficult thing to have belief in ourselves, because most people don't want to be selfish. They don't want to focus inwardly on themselves. They don't want to be bad people. And along the way, somewhere, that gets lost. That gets lost as and it becomes self-harming, rather than you sort of put yourself down, you forget your own needs, and you forget there is a difference between things that you need and being selfish. I had someone tell me many years ago, you need to relearn how to enjoy yourself and how to actually play, because you've forgotten how to be silly. You've been through so much hell in your life that you've forgotten how to be joyful. And I can almost cry now, because it's still something I have a problem with. It's difficult. It's difficult to remember that you have an innate self-worth as a human being. Forget being a witch. That has nothing to do with it, because every person on the planet has innate worth. What they choose to do with it is their choice, their path, their life. And no one on the planet should say to anybody that you are worth less than X, Y, or Z, that you are less of a person, that you are less of a human being, less of a woman. It promotes misunderstanding, miscommunication, and negative judgments on people. It's spreading hate eventually, because you're saying this person is less. Well, no, that person isn't less, and to be honest, you are lessening yourself by being like that about someone else. And this has been a conflict within me for a while. It's been like, I don't want to be a selfish human being, because I've known people who seemingly go through life and oblivious to everybody else around them. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to not care about other people. I have an innate feeling that I really want to help people. When people are in trouble, I really want to help people, and it gets to me. It gets to my core bit of my being, and I'm tapping my chest and you can't see. It gets right in here, and it makes me go, I need to help. I just want to give them a hug, or I get like that. And I care sometimes too much, and that caring too much is a slippery slope, because it becomes caring too much to allowing people to take advantage of that. I've had that in the past. I've had friends in the past who I've helped them and helped them and helped them, and then they've turned around and middle fingered me, basically. I had one friend who, she'd been going through this stuff with her then partner. I think I've said this before. And he was lying to her and getting her into thousands of pounds worth of debt. And she was going to go back to him, and she asked for my honest advice, and I said, don't go. I wouldn't go back to him. He's lied to you for, it was something like 8 months about having paid this, that and the other, and he hadn't. And he's left you with all these debts. And if you take him back, it's just going to carry on. And I said, what you do is entirely up to you, but I wouldn't, if you were asking for my opinion, my honest opinion. And I will give my honest opinion whenever it is asked. If I honestly believe that another person, like her boyfriend, was going to keep harming her in that manner, then I will say, if it were me, I wouldn't, because I don't believe the requirement of change is there, because people don't change like that. People, you don't say, oh, I've been caught, slap on the hand, everything's better now, I'm going to completely, it doesn't happen like that. It's like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. That's what I believe. And I think real honest to goddess change requires blood, sweat and tears. It requires checking yourself. It requires real self-analysis. It might require outside help, like counselling or therapy or seeing a doctor, or whatever the change may be. Say the change is physical. You're not going to lose weight by just saying, I'm going to lose weight today, and then eat a load of pies and think, well, you know, you lose weight by saying, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not doing this anymore, and it's a slow, gradual process. And for me, weight loss is a pertinent example of self-worth, because being overweight crippled my self-worth. It still does. I feel ugly. I feel unattractive. I just don't like being overweight. It's also a constant reminder of the bad situations that I have been in that led to comfort eating, which led to the negative cycles, if you like. So for me, it got to the point where I had to be deathly honest with myself and say, this isn't who I want to be. I don't want to be overweight, and I have to change one little thing at a time. So the first thing I changed was I gave up carbonated drinks, Diet Coke. I was pretty much addicted to Diet Coke. I just drank it all the time, and I got to the point and I was like, nope, right, I gave it up, and I've given it up for over 2 years. Is it over 2 years now? I think it's 2 years now, and I haven't had any. I just gave it up. And then I had to slowly cut down on bread, and I mean, bread we still have, because, okay, I don't have pasta because of its high carb content. We cut down on portion sizes to, excuse me, a healthy, and I've consulted with doctors, okay, so don't be like, I'm going to have a portion size, and that's not what I'm saying. If you're going to, weight loss is something you really need to look into, then do it healthily, do it with the advice of a doctor, and know your stuff before you start. Exercise as well, obviously. Exercise is another thing. Exercise is another part of the healthy eating process. Me and my Noma have tried to go on a walk every day, at least once, and that's something we keep doing. So that is building up self-worth. I don't think I will ever be free of self-doubt. And in a way, that's healthier, because self-doubt means that you question yourself, and the key thing is learning to question yourself, but not in a completely negative way. So if you're doubting yourself, you're thinking, I don't know about this, I don't know, is it your intuition kicking off and saying, this isn't right? Is it a message from the divine saying, this isn't right, you need to change something, you need to fix something, you need to watch what you say? I don't... and that's healthy to me. Yeah, so this is just a little video about me saying, about self-worth, about making sure that I keep on the path to remembering that I'm not perfect, and I will never be perfect, and I will make mistakes my entire life, and that's fine, because it's fine to fall down as long as we stand back up again. So that's it for today, folks. This is one very nudie-faced Joey. Many blessings.